I can't lie to you. One of the things stopping me from starting this podcast is the fact that I have no idea what I'm going to do for the intro. So I'm just not going to do one. I'm going to put that down to the powers of editing and slot it in when I can. I didn't do that. I tried to do that, and here's the result. So after listening back to my head cut off, that's it. And just get straight into, guess what you guys came for, the title of the video. I got kicked out of uni, so let's get into that story. But before I tell you how I got kicked out into uni, I'm going to let you guys know how I got into uni, which starts way back in 2016, 2015, something like that, when I got my A-level results. Results day was a very difficult day for me because I was applying to defer my entry, meaning I was going to take a gap year regardless of my results. I did not make it into the universities that I applied to, which were Bristol and Southampton. I was applying for chemistry. And when you're applying to defer your entry, you can't go through clearing. So I didn't have the option. I also had work that day. So I'm sitting in school. It's 9 o'clock. I don't start work until 10. So I had to sit around for 45 minutes watching everybody stress. Meanwhile, I had to internalize my stress because I have work to focus on. I have drills to plan. So it was a tough day. Took my gap year. Luckily got into Brunel University to do biomedical science. Not quite what I wanted. I wanted to do chemistry because chemistry in school was probably one subject that I actually enjoyed the practicality of it. But so I'm at Brunel University studying biomedical science. First year was alright, First year didn't count towards the degree. So I wasn't too fussed about it. Didn't really put in too much effort. Second year, different story. Second year I realized this is not what I want to be doing. I'm struggling with my work because I can't focus, because I don't like what I'm doing. So I'm not going to lectures, I'm not revising the lecture notes. And I probably would have failed the year if I didn't drop out. I started a new course, had to do a whole nother personal statement. So this is now my third personal statement. And this is where the story kind of switches. So when I started this course, Student Finance informed me that I have applied through Student Finance as a returning student and I need to apply as a new student. But they funded the year anyway. So for that whole year, I was thinking, you know what? I even forgot about it. First couple of months, I was thinking, oh, this is a bit shaky. But they gave me my maintenance loan and they paid for my tuition. So I was thinking, can't be that serious. And then second year started. And during second year, I didn't get my maintenance loan. So I'm calling up, I'm emailing them saying, what's going on? And they said, oh, you have to do this PN1 form, which was called the new student form. Even though I've already sat the year, so I'm not technically a new student. But anyway, they said I have to do it. So I'm like, whatever, I'll do it. Done that form. And they then informed me of their policy. Now, their policy is that once you start a new course, regardless of how many years you're entitled, and I still had 2 years entitlement left of funding. But regardless of how many years you've got left, Student Finance do not fund the first academic year of your new course. So they now pull the funding from the year that I've already sat. And Brunel are asking me, oh, where's our tuition money? I'm like, I don't have it. They're like, cool. We don't have you as a student. I've got deregistered. I'm like, raw. So I'm asking around, oh, what can I do? And it all boils down to the only option I have to return to Brunel University as a student in this current academic year is if I pay them the full tuition. Obviously, it didn't happen. No longer a uni student. So where does that leave me? I started applying to apprenticeships in childcare because I've been working with kids for a number of years. It's something that I could do a good job in. university is low-key a scam. Not even low-key a scam, because you get a lot of people saying, oh, university is this, university is that. Maybe scam. Scam is probably the wrong word. I would say university is only good if A, you know what you're doing, and B, you enjoy what you're doing. And this kind of reminds me of a story. So after I had changed my course, I'm in my first year of film production and theatre. I went back to my old secondary school because my younger brother was still a student there. Bumped into my chemistry teacher. So she taught me chemistry, right? She's the one that's pushing me, oh, Rashad, you should do better, because I talked a lot in class. Probably wasn't as successful as I could have been academically, but that's neither here nor there. So my old chemistry teacher, right, bumped into her and she says, oh, I've heard you've changed course. I was like, yeah, I'm doing a film production and theatre. And she looked me in my face and she said to me, you should have done that anyway. You should have, I think, in my opinion, you should have gone to university and done that in the first place. I was standing there thinking, at no point while I was in school did you tell me that. Not one of my teachers told me that. And it does make sense. I did enjoy film production and theatre a lot more than did biomedical science. And it's unfortunate that I won't be able to finish, but I'm not too fussed about that. But what I am annoyed at is the fact that my chemistry teacher, when I applied to chemistry, had no issues with me applying to chemistry. But now that I'm telling her that I'm doing film production and theatre, she's telling me, oh, you should have done that in the first place. So why didn't you tell me that while I was under your care? Which brings me to my next point. Sounds kind of cringy. It brings me to my next point. I might have to stop doing that. And the next thing is, I've written down, apparently, do what you want to do, but within reason. With that, I mean, if you want to go to university, cool. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you're going to have fun doing what you're doing, because that's minimum 3 years of your life that you're dedicating to it. I know of a lot of people, off the top of my head, I know one guy who's doing an architectural engineering degree, wants to be a writer. I know a guy doing a politics degree, wants to be a director / actor. And they have their own reasons, don't get me wrong. I'm not judging them for picking courses unrelated to their chosen career path. But I'm saying, if you don't have the right mentality or the right ideas about the degree that you're studying, then don't study it. There's so many other options out there. There's apprenticeships, there's internships, there's part-time jobs, there's full-time jobs, there's work experience, there's shadowing, there's freelancing. There's so many different pathways you could take to get to where you want to be in life. And university is not always the answer. It's not never the answer, but it's not always the answer. You can do it. See, I'm so proud of myself. Those of you that know me, I'm not the most organized person. And I knew going into this podcast that I would struggle with waffling, because I waffle a lot. I waffle a damn lot. So I wrote a lot of notes. It's really being organized, To those of you out there that are unorganized, this is going to be advice to you. To those of you out there that are organized, you're going to be thinking, shut up. But to those of you that aren't organized, get organized. It's so much more helpful when you've planned ahead. I mean, even going back to school days, doing essays, never planned. Uni essays, never planned. And I always came up with decent grades, which were good enough for me, because I never really cared about academics that much. So decent was a good enough goal for me. But now that I'm organized, I see, it's a great feeling to be organized, There I go again with the waffling. Back on topic. What was that? You can do whatever you want, but it takes time. Yeah. I was talking to one of my close friends the other day, and he was talking about how he knows one day he's going to produce a feature-length film and it's going to be in cinemas. He knows that. He just doesn't know when. And that is true for everybody. You don't know when is going to be your time. And that goes for anything. Not just in the creative industry. Because creative industry, you can kind of equate what I'm saying to that. Like, you don't know when you're going to have a number one hit song. You don't know when your movie is going to be the highest grossing movie. You don't know when your acting role is going to make you XYZ amounts of money and give you this many opportunities. But it applies to anything. You don't know when you're going to get promoted in the hospital that you're working at. You don't know when you see what I'm getting at. You don't know when it's going to be your time to make it. But that shouldn't discourage you from putting in the work to make it. Because there is an element of luck in a lot of job areas, maybe all job areas actually. Because regardless of how much work you put in, people, and this may come as a shock to some of you, people are untrustworthy. Even just yesterday, I was talking with my sister and a friend, and they both had two separate incidents where a friend of theirs were putting in so much work and time and effort that they didn't have to put in to a job that they wanted. And their schools, they were both working in schools. Their respective. So one of them was to be head of a department. And the head of the department went on maternity leave. So, this girl was like, oh yeah, I've been doing all the work she's been doing. She's actually been mentoring me. So this is my job now. And the school went and hired someone completely random. Similarly, this person was the deputy head of a school. They were being trained to be the head. They were told, once the paperwork's done, basically, you've got it. And these are the exact words that my sister's friend used. They went and hired some random Susan for the head teacher's role. And that's no, disrespect to the random Susan. She's probably very qualified for the role. But it's the fact that the person, my sister's friend's friend, was, working hard and being told she would make the role. And the school still turned around and didn't give her the role. So people are untrustworthy. And that is why there's an element of luck within your job area. But that shouldn't discourage you from putting in the work. No one is going to be top in the UK charts by releasing one song. No one is going to be top 10 grossing films by releasing one film. No one is going to be... Oh, yeah? No one's going to be a heart surgeon from one day of nursing school. It takes time and work. So you do need to put in the work. And once you put in the work, all it's going to take for you to make it is time. It also takes time to put in the work, but once you put in the work, all it's going to take is time till you make it. I just came up with that quote, dropping gems on it. I'm a dickhead. Try to be optimistic when necessary, realistic when necessary, and try not to be pessimistic. My therapist actually said to me, I am a healthy amount of... She didn't even say pessimistic, she just said realistic. Because I have certain trust issues with people. I go into a new friendship thinking, can I really trust this person? And she told me that's a realistic response because of experiences that have happened to me in the past, which I will get into, just not in this episode. So, where was I? There we go. Notes. Look at the organization. Hold on. 1 second. I'm saying 1 second, but I'll probably just edit this, which is kind of sad because I'm saying 1 second and for you guys it's going to be a split second. I might just leave it in just to make myself feel better. Boom. I said, boom. Why are you not working? There we go. I lost my train of thought. Oh, man. So, alright, for those of you who don't know me, I have a notoriously bad memory to a point where I've forgotten things that people shouldn't be forgetting. What was I singing? I might have to pause this and go back and re-listen to what I've just said. I was talking about optimistic, not realistic. Necessarily trust issues. Talk about in the past. 1 second. Bruv, pause. Alright, boom. I actually hate saying that. It's so cringy. All slang. I find all slang extremely cringe. I do use a lot of. Why does it do? I do. I use a lot of slang, but I really don't like it. I'm trying to cut off the amount of slang that I use. Also, I remembered what I was going to say when I turned my camera on. Yeah, these notes, this level of organization. I'm out here clicking like I'm at a poetry event. This level of organization, I can't believe I've never done it before. Going back on topic, my therapist said that was a realistic response. So when I say be optimistic when necessary, realistic when necessary, and try not to be pessimistic, that pessimism is a thought pattern that no one should ever do. It's a waste of energy because all you're doing is putting yourself down, lowering your expectations. And people say, "Oh, I'm lowering my expectations, so I can't be hurt." But you also won't be happy when. So, for example, if you meet a goal but you're being pessimistic about it, you won't be happy because then you're like, "Oh, maybe if I tried a bit more, maybe I was a bit more optimistic." Let me turn the camera off. Maybe if I was a bit more optimistic, I could have done better. So try not to be pessimistic. Be optimistic when necessary. So don't go into things thinking the obvious things. Don't apply for a job thinking 1,000 other people are going to be applying for the same role. Because that is a realistic response, but there's no reason for you to be realistic in that situation. Those situations are where you should say, I'm going to try and be better than the other 1,000 applicants applying to the same job role. So situations there, you should be optimistic, but you should also be realistic and say to yourself, okay, this one job may not be the job that I get, but there are thousands of other jobs of similar caliber, similar role, similar wage, whatever you're looking for at the time you're applying for that job. There's going to be other roles. There's going to be other competitions you can enter. There's going to be other writers' conventions you can go to. So it's not, you have to be realistic in that sense, but also optimistic when applying. So be optimistic when necessary and realistic when necessary. And also don't put, and this is again being realistic, don't put all your eggs into one basket. And that's not to say don't put all your energy into one career. I'll use examples to kind of explain what I'm talking about. I would like to be a rapper one day. And I understand that, as I've said to you, the more work I put in, the better chance I'm going to have to make it. But I'm not going to not work for money because one day I'm going to make it. Because that's ridiculous. There's nothing wrong with having a job, maybe not a job that you hate, but a job that maybe is not your dream job, while on the side you're working on that dream job. So if you want to be a footballer, for example, I haven't brought any sports professions. If you want to be a footballer, there's nothing wrong with you working at a bank from 9 to 5. That still gives you time from, let's say, 5 to go home. You get home by 6. You can eat. You can go to a park from 7 to 10 and then go to bed. That's still 3 hours. 3 hours a day of work is enough for you to be better than the average person at anything, really. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. No one's expecting you to play football 24 hours a day. No one's expecting you to write a script for 24 hours a day. No one's expecting you to write chapters for 24 hours a day. No one's expecting you to write songs for 24 hours a day. No one's expecting you to apply to do your UK CAT 24 hours a day. No one's expecting you to do anything all the time. Even people that have made it in their respective fields don't do what they're doing all the time. Okay, there's not any single actor who spends their whole life acting. There's not a single doctor who spends their whole life in the studio. That's what's called in the studio? I'm gonna have to Google it. There's not a single Olympic level swimmer who spends their whole life swimming. They spend the majority of the time, yes, but not their whole life. So even people that have made it aren't dedicating every single breath to what they love and want to do. So there's no reason or expectation for you to do the same thing. Especially since we're thinking realistically here. Okay, cool. I might not make it today. I might not make it next year. I might not make it in 2 years. But in 3 years, I want to be in a position where I want to be. So in those 3 years, what do I have to do? Okay, year 1, I have to get a full-time job so I can fund whatever my dream goal is. Year 2, I can put the funds that I've saved from my full-time job into investing into more equipment for a home studio, into more opportunities, more events, more meet and greets. You know, using that money that you saved from the job that isn't necessarily your dream job and putting it into your dream job. And then by year 3, you've put all this money in, you've put all this work in, you've met all these people. Now it's time for you to maybe pursue, okay, I'm stopping my dream job. I've got enough. I'm stopping my not so dream job to start putting all my effort and time. I've saved up enough money that, you know, I can take this risk of leaving my full-time job to write books for a living now. Because I've made up a small fan base that, you know, maybe I'm not getting as much money as what I was in my other job, but I'm getting enough that I can live and I'm doing what I want to do. So think realistically and optimistically at times, but try to never think pessimistically. I have another point. I'm happy with where I am. As I said, I want to be a rapper. I used to spend a lot of my time on Instagram looking at other people and thinking, oh man, I am way better than this guy. But he's got 1k followers. I've only got 400. He's got 800 views. I only get 200. What am I doing wrong? And that is a really toxic way to think. So I stopped looking at other people on Instagram. I then transitioned to deleting Instagram throughout the week. I am now in a position where I don't even watch my own views. And that is because recently at the time of recording this, I put out something that was possibly my most relatable song, or my most relatable verse. I had people that don't normally comment or like on my posts, comment and like on those posts. But it is one of the lowest viewing videos that I have right now. And I sat down and said to myself, I'm not even mad at that because I'm proud of this work. So I don't care what the other validation that are usually required from my other videos. I don't care about that because I'm proud that I even put this out there. So I've even stopped comparing myself to myself because I realized that it stops me from being happy with the small successes that I've just described to you. So the year 1, you start building up, year 2, put money in, year 3, whatever. Again, that's not like a setting thing. That's just an example. But a few weeks ago, I'd complained, XYZ has got more views than me on Instagram. What am I doing wrong? a memory then popped up on my Snap, of when I first uploaded a song onto all musical platforms, Project on all musical platforms. And obviously that was the first song. So before then, I had 0 streams because I had 0 content. A year after, because obviously it was a Snap memory, a year later, I checked my statistics and it said I had 300 streams. And I was like, wow. I was quite happy about that. I was kind of like doing the math. I'm like, okay, cool. It's like a year to make 300 streams, but I was taking 2 months to make 150. So now I'm like, yo, I could maybe, if I keep it up. Obviously, it's going to be difficult for me right now because I can't really record any new songs due to the lockdown. But I still got some content that I can put out, and I'm going to put that out. And I'm like, yo, I might be able to get 1,000 streams by the end of the year. And I know for a fact I wouldn't be happy with that if I'm still comparing myself to other people. Because it's not just XYZ on Instagram that I would have compared myself to. It might be a friend of a friend of a friend putting up a Snap story about the friend of a friend of a friend who's got 10k on YouTube. And I've got 1k on all music platforms. I'll be looking at the friend of the friend of the friend and thinking, damn, how has you got 10k and I've only got 1k? No, I've got 1k and I'm fucking happy about that. Oof. Am I allowed to swear? I'm actually not too sure. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, yeah, I'd be very happy. 1,000 streams, like that just sounds crazy. Considering 2 years ago I had 0. So that is my next goal now. I'm taking my goals in stages. I've been watching a lot of podcasts by YouTubers that have made it, and they constantly refer to things like people are never happy when they hit the small milestones. They all just want to hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube, but they can't see the joy in the 50 subs, and then the 100 subs, and then the 200 subs, and then the 1,000 subs. They just want to see the 1 mil. But it takes time, so it's a process. As I've been saying, I think that's probably the message of this podcast. What you want to do takes time, and there is no rush. Ultimately, if you don't want to go to university as soon as you finish your A-levels, don't do it. Because if it's not what you want to do, you'll be wasting those 3 years. And whatever you want to do, that will also take time. I can't even tell you how long that will take, because I don't know that. I just know uni will waste 3 years, at least. So that's 3 years you could have been spending on doing what you want to do. So only go to uni if you know what you want to do. And whatever you want to do is going to take time. But don't let that discourage you from putting in the work that you need to make it. I'm waffling because I literally just said the same thing twice. And that is because I not only don't have an intro, I also do not have an outro. Because I'm trying really hard, really, really hard not to do the cliche. Well, that's it from me, guys. YouTube kind of, I really don't want to do that. So hopefully after I play back this podcast to see if this content is viable, I will have found me an intro, and with the power of editing, and an outro, and with the power of editing, I'll smoothly slide it in. If not, that's gonna, I'm lying, I can't do it. I can't do it.